What's going on? I got my buddy Dylan, aka Junior, on today. What's up, dude?
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. We were just talking briefly about my flight getting canceled today. It's been a minute since we've had one of our signature sushi dinners. So what's going on, dude?
I just got word from Carl, a mutual connection, that my book description is done. The cover and the back cover are done. So we're gonna get a dead copy here in a couple of weeks, or by the time I get back from Florida, and we're gonna start that press tour, and then just get that process going. We're both speaking at the Recharge event, which is exciting, and I'm going to LA with Craig Siegel next week. I'm excited for that too, for his book launch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so before we dive into too much, I got a couple questions I already wrote down that I want to ask you, but would you mind giving yourself a little introduction to the people listening, and a little bit about who you are, what it is you're doing? 'Cause
Yeah.
I know you got a lot of things going on, so share a little bit about your story.
So I'm a 22-year-old entrepreneur. I'm Dylan Smith. I was adopted twice. First time from Russia, second time from an alcoholic father. I was misdiagnosed with ADHD and put on Ritalin and Concerta for 10 years when it was really dyslexia. I barely graduated school with 50s. I did not go to college. I turned an internship into a career on Wall Street as a tech. And I used my experiences that I had had and the things that I had to overcome to build a company called D's for Dyslexia, where now I'm very grateful to have great people like Rob and a lot of other entrepreneurs where we've all been able to speak on stages, do podcasts, help people, go to schools, and just impact at the highest level possible.
Yeah, dude, I love that. And I know you mentioned briefly about the dead copy of your book coming out. I know you are constantly ping-ponging around back and forth between 100 different like events and projects you got going on. So share a little bit about what exactly a dead copy is, what your book's going to be about, and like kind of when can we expect it and such.
Yeah, so a dead copy is a press book. So it's my cover art and my back cover art with my description, but there's nothing on the pages inside. So I can run up podcasts and TV shows and content. So to everybody looking, it's a book, but there's nothing inside because it's still being written. To build up the hype and get some pre-sales. And the book is Defying All Odds with Dylan Smith. And each chapter is a chapter of my life where I had to defy the odds. And it was my perspective of what happened in that event or chapter of my life and how I got through it. So hopefully, like if you had an alcoholic father, chapter 2 would really help resonate with you. You'd feel like you're talking to me with the audiobook especially, and you can relate and you can reach out, and that impacted you. Or if you struggle in school, chapter 5 might help you, right? Or if you were adopted, chapter 1 will help you. If you're misdiagnosed, chapter 6 will help you. So each chapter it's not one book that's like dyslexia or one book that's entrepreneur. It's how I defied the odds in each chapter. So each person who may have been part of a chapter or is going through a similar one can really relate and know that they're not alone. And then they can use my steps or my advice, and they can get through it easier than they would have if they didn't.
Mm. So, so because you are so young, you really have already accomplished quite a bit. But who is your target audience for this? It's got to be somebody young with dyslexia or some other kind of disability that might be quote unquote holding them back, that they are trying to look to get through it, or are you looking to just anybody who has dyslexia or who struggled with dyslexia? Like who is going to benefit the most from this book is what I'm trying to
And
say.
I want everybody to benefit, whoever's going through whatever, because this book isn't just dyslexia. It's Defying All Odds with Dylan Smith. So it's a chapter about how I had an alcoholic father. There's a chapter about how I was adopted and what the Russian orphanage was like. There's a chapter about what the medicine did to my body. There's a chapter of how I felt in school and what I went through. There's a chapter of not going to college and building my career. And it's targeting those who had any type of season where they had to defy the odds in similar aspects, where they can relate, where they can maybe, if they're in those seasons, they can take steps, or they can take advice, or they can relate, or I'm so happy to talk to anybody if you reach out to me and make a friend or figure out best ways to proceed. So anybody who needs to defy the odds or is currently defying the odds, you can relate. I will help any way I can. So it's
Yeah, and I know just because of being your friend that you are pretty always open. You always get back to me relatively quickly with any kind of text and things like that. And you just said that you're pretty much an open door for anybody else who's kind of going through any kind of struggles or challenges, and
100%.
totally open up to them, right?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got a whole book you're about to like produce here on all these different struggles that you've gone through. What are some of the hardest struggles you had? Was it the like what were like one or two of your top hardest struggles? Was it the orphanage or is it the alcoholic father coming here from Russia? Like,
It it was say I'd say the orphanage. So to paint the picture, you had to fight for your food. You had to fight to keep your blankets. And if you got food, we'd hide it in our pillowcase because no one would know it was in there. So if somebody stole your your blanket, you'd sleep in the pillowcase with your food. But like, of course, food doesn't stay nice forever. So when you're in your pillowcase, you have to now ration. So rationing food that you're sleeping in a pillowcase with is a pretty good season to define the odds, I would say.
yeah,
Um, and the alcoholic father, not to dive deep, but there's a lot of things that happened there that I had to defy the odds. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things in my life where I had to grow up faster than most kids did. But I'm honestly thankful for it. I think the second would be the not knowing you're dyslexic for 10 years and being on the wrong meds and being called the stupid kid and not knowing how to read or not knowing what's going on in class and just not knowing what's going on with you and just having to figure out how to make it work, coming in early, staying late, skipping lunch, skipping gym, having a tutor and still have no answer, and having to figure out, all right, I have to find one reason or one win today to come back, even though I'm the stupid fat kid who has no idea what's going on. That was hard, but I'm glad I went through it because so many life lessons.
so let me ask you because I'm jotting down a couple of notes here about a bunch of different things. What was it specifically like when you were in the orphanage in Russia? Like, what was it that helped you kind of realize that this is what you needed to do? You needed to fight for the food. Like what about Dylan Smith allowed you to kind of survive that?
You go into a survival state. You do. The first time that I was able to walk and I wasn't being fed food, I realized quick, oh, if I don't get to it when I want it, I won't get it. So that was a very fast realization. I think one day. You only
Mm.
realize that for one day. Um, and then the realization of, okay, we have these clothes for the next 48 hours. You have the same pair of clothes, underwear, diaper, whatever it is for 2 days, basically. And then they come and check everything. So then you have to ration your food appropriately so you still have food. And you have to ration how you eat it. So then, if you're wearing a diaper, you're not going in your pants. But if you have to go to the bathroom, you're not going all times because that means your pillowcase is unattended. So it's like so many different aspects that I really wish nobody ever has to go through. And those who are going through it, I really feel for you. It's just a mindset of survival that you don't even know you have.
Yeah, it sounds like adaptability,
Yeah.
being able to bounce off and kind of roll with the punches that come at you.
Yeah. And now my mindset, because all that perspective with the alcoholic father and the orphanage and the wrong meds, and we used to live on food stamps. Somebody always has it worse, and I know it. I know it now
Yeah.
with all that perspective.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's a couple things that I heard you say a few times. A little bit about expressing gratitude and thankfulness, and just how great things are, even though things have been pretty rough for you. Um, what is your gratitude kind of practice looks like? I know every once in a while I'll get a text message from you, but like, what is it that you do specifically for your practice?
Every morning I reflect on what I have. So, with the perspective from the orphanage, whatever I have that's not a necessity, which is clearly just food, and most of us say food, water, and then they add clothes and a house and a bed. And with my perspective, that people don't realize that part is not a necessity. It's looked at as such, but it's still a luxury, if that makes sense. Or maybe having your parents married still is a luxury. People don't realize that because I had parents who divorced. So it's like the gratitude is just every day understanding, hey, I've got a car, I've got a laptop, I've got a button-up shirt that was ironed this morning, I've got a, a laptop, I've a job, I have my brand, I'm going to Florida and I can do it on a plane and I can get there and I'm not worried about financial sides of things. And it's just I know somebody always has it worse and I know I'm living better every day. And it's not even financial. It's just I have great friends like you in my corner. I have my family that loves me. I have my coworkers who help me out a lot. It's a lot about who I'm around who help me do it too. Because it takes a
Mm-hmm.
village to raise a child. It takes a village to build a brand. And I'm just enjoying the journey and the blessings of the humans that I'm grateful to be around. Because when I talked to you and I was some 19-year-old kid who probably had no business being in a studio or going to Miami with you guys, which is a crazy story. You guys accepted me with open arms. Like, oh, here's this 19-year-old kid who really has no idea what's going on, but we'll make sure he's taken care of. You guys didn't have to do that, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And then everything on top, coming to my events, buying my tickets, buying my shirts, working out with me, giving you your pre-workout, whatever it was, it's like those are all luxuries.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Geez,
grateful.
so how long do you practice this gratitude each day? Like 4 hours? You just write out a whole novel of everything? Or
It's usually on the treadmill. So I do the treadmill for a half an hour, bike for half an hour, stairs for a half an hour for my cardio. And usually cardio days are just like, wow. And then I also like to
mm,
reflect on like, I'm always so, getting caught up in the world that we're in. We're probably like, oh, we need to do this, this, and this. Like you're saying, your flight here, your flight there. You need to do this and do that. I'm like, I got to do all this stuff before I leave for Florida, and then I go to LA. But then it's like you look back at a couple of posts a year ago, and that little 19-year-old kid jumping on a plane didn't think he was going to be on a Times Square billboard, but he was last weekend. Little
mm-hmm.
things like that, which is just crazy. That gives you the perspective. It's always reflect and appreciate where you came from, what you did, and where you're going.
Yeah, let me ask you, how often do you reflect on a lot of the different events and things like that? It's like obviously you're like you just talked about how you reflect on all the things that you have going for you in life, but how often are you kind of like looking back at old posts or things like that?
Uh, Probably every time somebody tells me, Dylan, like I had an event last September coming up on a year ago, and it was like you were there, and Freddie Fox had to pull me aside and say, Dylan, look what you did. And I was too worried about running the event. And it was the same thing with A to B Con. I was so worried with running it with Brandon that I didn't realize what happened until a couple of days later where I'm looking at the videos and I'm getting the texts and I'm getting the appreciation and people are telling me I inspired them and I'm like, wow. So it's unfortunately for me, it's people have to bring it up to me. Oh, I
Mm,
realize what all you've done. I'm like, what have I done? Because I'm so caught up on what's next, what's next, what's next. And it's
yeah.
very easy to do in the entrepreneur world.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, how do you keep that focus on what's next and what's next? Like, what's the end goal for you?
My end goal is to be a very very well known motivational speaker, and then also educator. So not like a Tony Robbins, like a Dylan Smith is what I was told by Craig Siegel. Don't be a Tony Robbins, be a Dylan Smith, but the size of Tony Robbins. So where if
Hmm.
I walk into it somewhere, I'm getting paid to do it, but it's a huge room that I can command and I can really impact people in an hour. Or I go to a school and I can really see a lot of impact in an hour or a day of speaking to schools of kids, parents, and educators, where you see the difference. That's the goal, to do it at the highest level to impact the most people.
Mm. And what does the impact look like when you do travel to these schools and you help them out?
Oh, it's gorgeous. So I'm glad you asked. The kids hugging me, telling me that I inspired them. The parents crying, telling me. So when I do it, I talk to the board first, and I tell them, hey, here's how the parents are coming in their perspective. And then when I talk to the parents, I'm like, here's how the board and teachers come in their perspective. So then they come in, you can understand the board's like, oh, the board and school are like, this is our system. This is how we assess kids. We're not moving or touching or changing anything for just one person. And then the
Mm.
parents come in like, I know I'm ready to fight you because you're not going to listen to me. You tell the parents and the board, hey, if this was your kid, how would you want this to be performed? So now the board's like, oh, wait, we're not a board. I have a daughter. My daughter struggles with X. I would want my daughter to be taken care of appropriately. You're right. I'm like, all right, great. So then also, here's a parent's perspective. My kid's struggling. I don't know what to do. My board, I need my teachers to help me. And then, oh, here's your kid's perspective because I struggled. Hey, here's what it's like running you through a first person day of a kid who just struggled academically. So now everybody comes into the meeting and they understand how the kids feel, how they feel, and how the other side feels. So it's more of, okay, let's work together instead of punch each other in the face. So at the
Mm.
end of it, it's like, oh, the kids are now in a better environment to be successful academically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you had a little school tour that was going on, right? Did you finish that? Are you in the middle of that, or what's going
We
on with the
finished
school
that and
tour?
it was awesome. I love when I go to schools because you really talk to the kids and I feel like I'm talking to little me's. And it also does remind you about how, go back to gratitude. I went to inner city schools with Carl, and it reminds you, how lucky I am. Because I know that these kids aren't going home to homes like I am, and they're riding buses or city buses or school buses, and they're just grateful to be at school because they're out of that other environment. So that's another thing that helps me with that perspective. I know that I'm doing what I can to make a difference, and I'm excited to see what the kids do with it.
Mm. Now you are spread so wide with a lot of the different projects that you're doing. How do you know when you're taking on these new projects that it's pulling you in the right direction for where you want to get to?
I don't. It's like more of a kind of like it feels right. Let's do it. So the big thing with entrepreneurs, as you know, you kind of have to commit to a decision and a project and an idea with no idea how it's going to happen. And then you just start taking the first step and the second step and the third step and the fourth step. And then you go, okay. And you just kind of walk the path and you learn to figure out. And sometimes, as entrepreneurs, you're like, that didn't work out. That was a bad idea. That didn't work out. That was stupid. Or it's like, wow, that was an awesome outcome. I'm glad I did that. It's, nice. I think this is the next step. And then also, which is great, a community, like me, you, Brandon, Carl, Craig, Ken, I can call you guys all and go, hey, here's my idea. What are your thoughts? And then you get that perspective. And maybe it's, hey, Dylan, I don't think it's a great idea. Or Rob's like, hey, Dylan, that's a great idea, but I think you take step 2 this way instead of that way, which also does help, which is community is everything. Yeah,
definitely. I don't know exactly what the quote is, but it's like a split off of what Brandon always talks about with the +1. Collective mind is always more than just a single mind. So brainstorming, like masterminds kind of thing. That's why those things are also beneficial, because you get multiple outlook perspectives on it. So that's awesome. You touched a little bit on community. You got a lot about mindset and gratitude. Love that. And you touched a little bit on your cardio routine that you're doing. So what else are you doing? I know you recently just started doing something else now for your health and fitness. Yeah. So how's that going? Share a little bit about that.
I'm in such love with CrossFit. And I know a lot of people say, oh, that's not a man's workout. Trust me, it is. They have me all messed up. CrossFit is at 1 hour, and it's very intensive circuit-based workouts with weights, without weights, with cardio and weights. And since I can't really balance myself, like I'm either going to lift and I get lift and bulky, and then I've got too much excess fat on me where I'm like, all right, now let me just do cardio, and then I lose my muscle and fat, and it's like I keep swaying back and forth. Although I was in pretty good shape for the Spartan race, but you gave me my training schedule. So
yeah. Selfless plug for me. Appreciate that. But yeah, no, I'm glad. And CrossFit is, regardless of what you think about CrossFit, there are a lot of benefits to it. One being the community aspect, obviously the fitness and training and getting people together, motivation kind of thing. So there is still a lot of benefits to CrossFit. So I'm glad that you found a good spot to go and get your training in to kind of go along with that.
I'm in love with that process.
Let me ask you a bit about your diet. So when I'm talking about diet with my coaching now, I obviously nutrition is a huge background for me, but it's more than that. So I always talk about your meals and your media. So what I try to do with a lot of my newer clients now is I have them go through my meals and media menu builder. I treat everybody almost as if they're their own restaurant. You go into a restaurant, it's got set food of items that you can choose from. Can't go to Sushi X and ask for tacos. It's just not on the menu. So I try to get a lot of my clients to start to build their own meals and media menu. What are a couple of things on your media side of your menu that you consume on a daily basis that helps you with your business, that might help you with your brand, that keeps you motivated, those kind of things? What's some stuff that you've been consuming lately?
Ryan Serhant. I just got into an Instagram called The Daily Trader. He's a day trader, but he has great motivational speeches and clips. Gary Vee, Ken Jocelyn, Craig Siegel, Kelly Siegel. Those guys get in the room with people that think bigger than you and have a like mindset. Because you can't do it yourself, and the perspective helps wonders. So find the people that have the results that you want, go listen to them, go travel to them, ask them questions, reach out to them, comment, follow them, and I promise you will learn.
So
So
you personally, you're doing, it's mostly just like coaching mentorship. That's where you're getting all your information and things like you're not reading any books or podcasts or any movies or
I
anything like that.
listen I listen to Mike Asabi's podcast. I listen to Ken Jocelyn, Craig Siegel, Kelly Siegel, and then I also listen to Logan Paul's, but that's not always Logan Paul's isn't always information based, sometimes more entertainment. But
Hey, yeah, entertainment, that's part of the media realm.
yeah,
Um, sometimes when I'm working with people, they have a little too much of the entertainment on their menu and they don't have enough like personal development type stuff on there.
and for
Um,
those like me who can't really balance without regimen or without like, say we're bowling with bumpers up, I do timers on my social media. So it's just enough time to upload and edit or do whatever I need to do to be on there and then consume what I need to keep going. And then it kind of locks me out for the day.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard a couple other people mentioning that. I haven't messed around with it too much, but maybe that's something I should kind of check out with. I'm constantly running around doing a bunch of things too. Except luckily for me, I try to keep myself as organized as possible, which is easy for me to ask you. How do you stay so organized with work, your brand, different coaching groups that you're a part of, and different events and things that you're traveling to?
I think I'm a little OCD. I'll be honest. My room, my car, my office, everything has a place. Has a place and it needs to be cleaned and wiped down. Maybe might be a little OCD, but everything needs to be in its place. So for my company, I'm part of the company Superpower Mentors now. So we have a Slack channel where we all chat, and that's on my DS Dyslexia laptop. So I also have Google Calendar open. I have Google Calendar and Slack open all the time. So my calendar can always show me what's today. And then I have text that Google texts me, oh, you have a meeting like today at 1, don't forget. And then Slack, that thing pops up. I have 4 messages right now. And then I have my email updating me all the time. So email, Google Calendar, and Slack. And every time I have my email set up to a way where I get invites or I send them, it puts it in my calendar and then it confirms it when either my other party confirms or I confirm. So it's kind of like, it's great that way.
Yeah, so your calendar's got to be pretty filled up, not too much white space on there, huh?
Yeah, and then my corporate job, I have my manager who just fills my calendar, sends me emails, and I get texts to my corporate phone, and it's like, hey, you have this today at this time to this time. So that I just check every morning. That's does its own thing.
All right, cool. I heard you mention something about Florida. What do you got going on in Florida?
Vacation, nothing crazy, just vacation. Jet skis with friends.
Hey, there you go, man. I mean, it's important to have some of the downtime. You got to balance a little bit here and there. Balance, I mean, let me get your take on that. How do you feel about life-work balance?
I think too much of anything and everything is too much of anything and everything, and not enough is not enough. So you need to have a good work-life balance. And I can be fair, I didn't have one for a while, and I probably still don't have one, but we're working on it. My 1% better every day theory, as you know. It's very important to balance, right? You work X, but it's also important, like you have a mother, you have a brother, you have sisters, you have a father, you have friends that you need to attend to. And it's not a job. Attending to them is not a job. You're doing a job so you can provide for them and you. And you need to have a balance. I work too much, I'll be honest, and I know that you did for a while too. And luckily I'm able to understand that now, that I need to give my friends and family more time. But I prioritized, DS dyslexia, the firm, working out, eating, and sleeping. But now I'm like, all right, well, maybe I should go to Florida and ride jet skis with some friends and family.
Yeah, see, I kind of go back and forth on my own personal take on that. I do genuinely feel that there really is no such thing as work-life balance. It's just all about like you just go 100% into whatever you're working on at the time. And I think the key really is just being able to check in with yourself and being aware. Like, okay, yeah, I've been working nonstop for 3 days straight. Check in with myself. How am I feeling? How's my relationship? How's my body? Am I okay? Do I want to continue working another 3 days straight? Or how do I feel? Should I actually slow down and take some vacation time? I think that awareness really allows you to kind of still go full speed. into whatever it is. So if you are grinding hard, say you got a deadline for an event or something coming up and you need to sacrifice some of that health and downtime, that's what you got to do. But then you do make sure that you celebrate and recover when you have the time allowed. And I think it's that self-check, self-awareness that really a lot of professionals and higher level people have that ability.
Yeah. My problem is I love being productive, and I love the feeling of getting things taken care of and done and checked off the list. I do. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, man. So how long are you going to be in Florida for?
1 week, 5 days, Monday through Friday.
Oh, nice. That's going to be good. Is that before or after you're going to LA?
Before. So I'm going from Florida to LA.
Oh, right. Back to back?
Yeah, one ways.
Oh, nice. Yeah, man. You got to make sure you can you pack enough clothing. Do some laundry while you're out.
Exactly. I have just vacation clothes. Well, I'm going to Florida for 5 days. I'm going to LA for 3. So we have Craig Siegel's book launch. He called me and told me, get there. That was his sentence, and hung up. So I was like, all right, I'll get there. But now I have people I've been on Instagram with and talking to that now, since I'll be there for a couple of days, I'm like, oh, let's do some interviews. Let's do this. Let's do that. So I'm going to get some things checked off while I'm out there as well.
Nice, dude. Double dipping where you can.
Yep.
Cool, dude. Yeah, man. So as we've been going with this, I know you said that you had you got the book coming up, got the dead copy. What else you got going on that you'd like to kind of give a little promotion for? Got any other events?
I'm doing more interviews right now, but like the actual podcasts are coming back soon here in a couple of months when the studio's back. So I'm excited for that. I'm going to keep doing interviews. I'm looking into events. I think I want to do a dinner like I did the first one as like an anniversary thing, as like the winter dinner. I'll have to figure out how to market it, but I know that with my now experience and knowledge on how to do it, I could probably throw it together in 4 weeks, which is just why not.
Nice.
We get some people in a room, has a live podcast, a little red carpet action, and great time with coworkers and friends and family.
And now share a little bit on where people can find you. How do people get in touch? Are you still taking on opportunities for speaking? And
yes, I am taking on any opportunity for speaking, any opportunity for podcasts. Reach out to me. I'll have you on my podcast. I'll be on your podcast. I'll have you speak on my stages. I'll speak on your stages. I'll co-host an event with you. I'm so open to all of it. Whatever we can do to collaborate and uplift each other involved. Like me and Rob and our crew do that I'm very blessed to have in my corner. Reach out to me. You can look me up as Dylan Smith Dyslexia on Google. Everything comes up. You can email me at dsfordyslexia1@gmail. DM my Instagram, dsfordyslexia19. My Facebook is just Dylan Smith. I'm happy to, or do an inquiry through the website, but I'm so happy to connect and do anything we can to work together to help move each other forward and impact.
What's your website again? Is it
dsfordyslexia.com?
Cool. All right, there you go. Plenty of ways to find Dylan. Plenty of opportunities to work with him and get some things going, as long as it fits the schedule, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, dude, before I let you go, what would be your number one if you were to boil everything down? So summarize your entire book that you got coming out with and everything that you've learned from everybody and just on your own through your own experiences. What would be your number one piece of advice for someone starting their entrepreneurial journey that would help them survive the side hustle?
My advice. Everybody's so worried about taking risks, but it's not a risk if you're betting on yourself.
Can you explain that?
Yes. So you are, the best way to explain it is you are a stock. So everybody's always worried about what stock do you invest in, right? If I invest in Amazon, will it go up and make me money? Well, if you look at yourself as a stock and you invest in yourself, like this entrepreneur thing, you do have to invest a lot of money into yourself. The only reason you're scared is because you're scared that you won't make it pull through. So you decide if it goes up and you decide if it goes down. And if your stock skyrockets, you thank yourself. And if it plummets, you blame yourself. You have it. It's not in my head. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But in your head, in my head, it's not a risk if I'm doing it because I'm going to make it happen. I will do anything I need to make it happen. From some young kid who was adopted twice and couldn't read to selling out venues, who would have thought, right? Writing a book, who would have thought? I did. And that's all that matters. I thought. And it's like, take action. Like I said, like, oh, I want to write a book. Take the steps and let the rest, take the first step and let everything else fall into place. All right, I've done this. Now I got to figure out how to do this. And I mean, if you're going to start, but don't quit. Because, I mean, what do you get from quitting? You got to ask yourself that. Okay, I
Mhm.
started this. Now, if I quit, what? My stress is gone, but I still don't have the product. I still don't have the accomplishments I want. And now I'm actually further behind than I was before because I wasted my time, energy, and money on something that I'm not going to follow through on. So you control where the risk goes.
Yeah, man, that's some powerful words there and some great insights. Dylan, man, 22 years old and you've already filled with a bunch of wisdom. You got a lot of things going on right now, and obviously, future as bright as it can be. And even if for some reason it starts to dim out, I know you won't let that happen. You'll be over there cranking it, the electricity through. So, again, dude, I appreciate you so much for hopping on. And we got to book another sushi date sometime soon.
Yes. I have one more thing. So you need to get people in your corner like Rob. So Rob, you remember this conversation? You stuck with me forever. I was staying at your house, and you have a nice place and you do well. And I was saying, wow, I was inspired being on your balcony and stuff. And I said, wow, I'd love to be here one day. And you got offended and you said, no, you want more than this. So you need to get people like Rob in your corner who pushes you to show you like, don't just stop at X. You can do better. Do better than X. Go to Z. So,
Appreciate that, man. Thank you for
of
those
course,
kind words.
I appreciate your
And
help.
and thank you again for taking the time to hop on today, man. We'll connect again soon, dude.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Peace, peace, peace.